Taurus, Sun, Moon, Rising, July 2025. Taurus, let's start with the influences that are specific only for this month, and then we'll go to Uranus leaving your sign because it created quite a tornado in your life, a storm for the last 7, 8 years. Maybe not constantly, but there was sudden reversal at some point in those 7, 8 years that totally changed your life. Some of you might think it changed it for better, some of you might think it changed it for worse, but there is always silver lining. But it was unstable. When Uranus is in your sign, there is left and right surprises out of the blue. God just wants to shake you up from the sleep and kick you into a new direction. But Uranus is leaving your sign. And Taurus is not very comfortable with the energy of Uranus because Taurus's purpose in life, whether it's your sun, moon, or ascendant, a big part of this purpose is stability. And for a lot of you, it was lacking. Or for a lot of you, a lot of novelty things came, but again, it doesn't speak stability. And now Uranus is leaving your sign, but we'll come back to this at the end of the video. Let's see the specific energies for this month. Venus is in your second house just this month, pretty much the whole month. That's you. Wherever Venus go, you go. Venus goes in your second house, so your mind will be more on having good food, being near dear loved people, near family, and things like that will go very well. Maybe acquiring things that you consider valuable and beautiful, resources. You can more easily have access to resources that you need, maybe resources for your business, maybe money for something that will be pleasant and indulgent for you, or maybe buying a beautiful something for your home or something for and of course, you can spend as well more, but when Venus is in your second house, you kind of have better quality to realize what is worth investing in. So if you're doing any investment, this is good time because Venus is in your second house the whole month, because you figure out which is the quality from not so good quality. It's also good for visiting good restaurants, gourmet experiences, and such. And financially, there can be some financial ease for you, or if you have your own business, somehow more income, more financially feeling stable. At the same time, we're going to have Mars the whole month in your fifth house. And Mars, wherever Mars goes, we become more active there, more driven. And fifth house is a house of having more fun, of holidaying, of enjoying yourself. So, yeah. And of course, Mars might do some more stressful aspects for some of you, depending on your personal horoscope. So, you have to be a bit careful about, let's say, going into arguments with loved ones, like romantic partners or children. They might trigger you. Like when Mars transits my fifth house, my child become wilder, but I also have more fun with them and I'm more active with them. So one way to channel Mars is to be more active. If some kind of, especially things that were buried, because Mars will meet with the South Node, which is past influence of unresolved past matters, especially if you have some buried resentments, anger, with your children or with your romantic partner, they might come to the surface because Mars is meeting the South Node. We have to resolve the unresolved now, and it will be resolved. And it might first, though, explode and escalate. So you kind of like exchange a few words with loved ones about what is annoying you, or they might say that, or they might be triggering your buttons. It's important when Mars is with the South Node this whole month, not to suppress your anger, but also don't go killing everyone. Find some productive ways, maybe through some physical activity, through more sport. When Mars transits the fifth house, we have a lot more energy to do sports and to do physical exercise because Mars puts this life force into the fifth house, which is a life force, which is a house of vitality. So yeah, if you can work through those, that because there is this release of anger that you've held, maybe because of a romantic hurt past one, it might be even years old, or something to do with children, or something to do with your confidence, because fifth house is confidence that was hurt. And this anger needs to go out to be released. Better out than in. South Node is the tail of the dragon, the excretion. So better out, you're excreting some anger there. Plus, you might be very active, maybe completing some old creative project, for example, or business project if it's your own ideas. You might be more active, partying and such things. But Rahu is also to lose one's head. No, sorry, not South Node, because the South Node is a dragon without a head. So when you're having fun, try not to lose your head too much. You know how we can lose our heads, be certain substances and things that we allow to penetrate our aura. So these are the things I would caution you towards. But otherwise, yes, it's Mars will give you to be more active with children, to be more active in romantic matters. Uh, if you're single, even to more actively go dating, for example, more actively have more courage to invite others and so on. Or even because North South Node is the past, maybe some reconnection, or maybe from past lifetime connection romantically, or maybe some past type of entertainment and enjoyment that you like, that you might be active on. But yeah, you have to warn you that there is a possibility also of certain quarrels with such people signified by the fifth house, and having to resolve some issue. Then we have Mercury going retrograde around the 18th, but it's in a shadow period, pre-shadow, whatever, the whole month. And it's staying in your fourth house the whole July and the whole August, July and August. So and there is a new moon with the sun and the moon in your fourth house. So there's something old that you're resolving with family, with parents, with matters regarding land or papers regarding ownership of land or houses. So some documentations with houses, you might have to work on those next 2 months, or maybe selling or buying house, but because of Mercury retrograde, you might have to be delayed, so it can be fixed, or it can be made to be more fair, or something to be investigated or completed before that. Or they might be reconnected with, maybe you haven't seen your parents in a while, Mercury retrograde in your fourth house, you go and see them, or your place of birth, or places that you used to live in before that you revisit. Or maybe you need to have some clarifying conversations with family members. So, okay, maybe your kids are pissing you off too much, of going crazy there. And you sit with them, because fourth house, fifth is the children, fourth is the dynamics in the family. And you sit and say, okay, we need new rules, or we need to revisit the rules here. Or maybe you have some family plans, and there will be some, you're planning something with the family, but Mercury goes retrograde, you might have to do a plan B or C instead of that. And it's not necessarily it's going to be worse, it might be even better. But yeah, you have some plans, and it might be to be prepared that it might not go according to expectations. So maybe you're building something, home, house related, or garden related. And Mercury retrograde is that you need to put more efforts, attention to details. I remember I was putting up beds together when we bought this house during Mercury retrograde, and had to do all 3 beds over because I did them wrong. So I have to repeat it 2 times, but I made them perfect at the end. Also, I was building this outside kitchen during pretty much the whole month and a half of pre-shadow Mercury retrograde, and then direct, and it was finished by the time Mercury was fully direct, was out of the shadow period for about a month, couple of months almost. So you might be doing something around the house. And I was worried with Mercury retrograde, it's not going to work well. There was some delays, but it worked out well. But a year later, we had to change those, you see those holes, because they were wooden and they started cracking. So doing it during Mercury retrograde, I knew that something would have to be redone after that, but that's when the craftsman could do it. And we redid it on another Mercury retrograde, and now they're stable and good. So I'm just telling you stories so you see how the energies of this flow. And it's not necessarily something negative. If anything, it can be, yeah, sometimes it's frustrating, but it's nothing too big, and it's often something important that happens around this fourth house, family, home, place of living. Plus there is a new moon there. There's something new as well after the 24th of July that is happening in your personal life. Maybe new circumstances with your family, new place of living for some of you, even a new direction, new plan of some sort, so there is renewal there. And yes, with Mercury retrograde and the new moon opposite Pluto, there might be some power struggles and things that were not unsaid in the family that come out, something that you discuss, or information about your childhood or past that you find out that is a bit like, whoa, a bit shocking. But again, it is life, things have to move, to develop, so sometimes there is like some things you have to clarify, to explain, to correct, and these planets will help you in that direction. And continues to be a good time for another 11 months for communications with Jupiter in your third house, to build bridges with others for any written or media or business project as well. Should go well. But I checked the previous video. I speak a lot more about Jupiter in the third house. But the biggie is that Uranus is leaving your sign. I promise I'll talk about that. And it will be out of your sign for 6 months. Then it will come back only in the last 3 degrees of Taurus. So those from 27 degrees to 30 degrees will experience Uranus again from the later autumn for the Northern Hemisphere in 5-6 months from now. But otherwise, let's speak, Uranus will be for 8 years in your second house. And Uranus in the second house, ultimately, the goal is to give you financial independence. Uranus is independence, second house is financial. And I know that this is like honey to you, this hearing the word, the financial independence, because Taurus is, it's one of their life mission to have this security. And Uranus can shake things up financially for you, but it will bring maybe some old ways of securing financial stability will disappear, will be pulled away, toppled, from as a resource from you. But totally new ones will appear. When Uranus was in my second house at the very end, finally, and during the whole time with Uranus in my second house for 8 years, I stopped working for companies and businesses. I became independent, self-employed. That was before I was doing astrology, self-employed as, I wasn't affiliated with any, like I was a waitress before, but there was an option to be self-employed waitress and move to different like catering and stuff. Anyway, and so there was a lot of rotation of where I was working, but it can make you, it's much easier when you're in a transit one second house to become self-employed and to become, to have financial resources coming from them from sudden, independent, unexpected sources of income. And you can become a lot more resourceful with new ideas. Uranus is very kind of ingenious to think of new ways where to have resources, stability. And at the very end of this transit, so I was independent, self-employed, but I was like, I started doing astrology, and all financial blessing opened up for me. And yeah, there were some ups and downs during those 8 years, but I never had to rely on a company or someone else. And again, because Uranus is also astrology or an alternative means, so you can do money from Uranus sources, through digital currencies, cryptos, through digital platforms, through anything Uranian, through anything out there, through new technologies, anything that's cutting edge, that is esoteric. Uranus also is esoteric knowledge, or knowledge is science as well. From scientific knowledge, if you can monetize it, or any knowledge about systems, or if you know any systems or any esoteric stuff as well, or alternative stuff. That can be, Uranus will support that. It might be more difficult if you're on a 9-to-5 job, because Uranus can make things inconsistent financially, or you might start feeling dissatisfied and want the freedom. But you have 8 years to figure it out. And it depends if Uranus is making positive aspects from a second house, or more challenging. Say you might be Taurus, but you might have planets in Sagittarius, or Virgo, Pisces, and Uranus will square or oppose them, or even planets in Gemini. And there might be some, when it's more challenging aspects, it's sudden shifts financially that you didn't expect and maybe you are not prepared for, but they can be really used for good. Say, for example, you lose your job suddenly, and like I did, I lost my gig at the end. gig of being freelancer. And I had no choice but to start doing astrology. And I was like so miserable. How am I going to make money? And I'm like, I've always wanted to do astrology. You have to do it. So it was pulled out from me. And uh, because of documents and stuff like that, that suddenly I was not allowed to do it because the laws in UK changed, and it was pulled out from me. I lost that opportunity, and I developed astrology business. And so when it's a challenging aspect, it can happen through some stresses and instability. When it's harmonious, you might have planets in Aries or in Aquarius or in Libra or in Leo. It will happen like, oh, a side gig or sudden opportunity that you flow easily into without the disruption, without the insecurity and instability that creates more resourcefulness for you. And of course, in my webinar on Uranus in Gemini, I show you exactly how to see what degree planets you have. It's very easy. You don't need to know any astrology. You just need to know the day you're born on and the year. And I show you how exactly to see that maybe you have a planet, maybe you have Mars in Leo and Uranus will sextile it. Maybe you have planet in Gemini and Uranus will transit. I go through absolutely every possible Uranus transit in a 5-hour video and through the houses way more in depth. Plus, I give you 100 pages of written material. I've written it personally myself over the last 10 years about the same transits, but with different stories, with different perspective. I never repeat. Well, maybe somewhere it repeats, but like always, new insights. Also, so Uranus in the second house, the biggest thing it wants to do is this. Keep this in mind, even if things are like, whoa, shock. It's know how it can play out really great at the end and give you more financial independence. And it will change your tastes in what you like. Second house is very much about preferences, even for food, preferences for how you dress, preferences to something that is more how you. Second house is even considered to be the face. And Uranus is very youthful energy. Uranus is, and you might be more into young. You can become more into young and what's trending clothes or ones that feel actually more real, truthful for you. And yeah, so I speak a lot more about that in the webinar. It's only $20. Check it out. Thank you so much. And good luck. Uranus is leaving a sign. I mean, it will be definitely much smoother from now on.